Ever get that feeling like you're missing something, that everyone else sees?
Hmm.
Well, imagine if that feeling was like literal.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into amblyopia.
Okay.
You probably know it as lazy eye.
Right.
And get this, it affects about 1 in 40 people.
Wow.
That means someone in your life, probably has it.
It's way more common than people think. And the lazy part is, honestly, such a misnomer. It's
Real.
not about willpower at all. It's about how our brains actually process what we see.
So not an eye problem, a brain problem.
Exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah, amblyopia, it happens when the connection between an eye and the brain, it doesn't develop quite right.
Okay.
Usually in, early childhood.
Okay, so the eye itself is fine,
Right.
but the brain's, not getting the memo.
That's a great way to put it. Wow.
Because the brain isn't getting these clear signals from that eye. It just starts to, favor the other one.
Hold on. So the brain just picks a favorite.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's brutal.
The brain is all about efficiency.
Okay.
It's like, why use both if one works well enough?
Right.
But that means the visual pathways, they don't fully develop.
So we're talking about, a disconnect happening way back in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
That can have, lasting impacts.
Exactly.
No wonder early detection is so important. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I think we need to, break down these different types of amblyopia. Because you mentioned it's not always about, one eye turning in or out.
Right. That's just one type. It's called strabismic amblyopia.
Oh, there are actually 3 main types, and each one disrupts the brain's visual processing in a totally unique way.
Okay, so let's break down these 3 types of amblyopia.
Okay.
We'll start with the one you mentioned, strabismic amblyopia.
Okay.
That's when, the eyes aren't lined up.
Right.
One might turn in, out, up,
Well,
down.
like a constant cross-eye.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because the eyes aren't pointing in the same direction, the brain's getting 2 different images.
Oh, wow.
To avoid double vision, it starts just ignoring the signal from, that misaligned eye.
So it's like a defense mechanism.
Right.
But it ends up, harming the vision in the long run.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a trade-off.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But also, a little cruel.
Right.
What about the other types?
Well, another really common one is refractive amblyopia. Okay.
This one's sneakier, I think.
Real.
Because it's not about the alignment.
Okay.
It's about a difference in, visual clarity.
So one eye might be more nearsighted or farsighted than the other?
Exactly.
Okay.
Even a subtle difference, if it's not caught early, can, cause amblyopia.
Wow.
Imagine trying to watch, a 3D movie.
Okay.
But one of the lenses is blurry.
Yeah.
Eventually your brain would just be like, I'm done with this fuzzy image.
Right.
It's kind of a similar concept.
That's a great analogy. It makes total sense that the brain would prioritize the clear input.
Right.
But this makes me wonder, wouldn't someone notice if their vision was that different?
You'd think so, but children are so adaptable.
Yeah.
They might not realize one eye is seeing things differently.
Wow.
And that's why those eye exams, regularly, especially in those early years, are so important.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got the misaligned eye
Mm-hmm.
and the blurry eye. What's the third type?
The third type is called deprivation amblyopia,
Okay.
and it's the most severe.
Oh, wow.
This is when something is actually physically blocking the light
Okay.
from reaching the eye
Wow.
during early childhood.
That sounds serious.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a congenital cataract, maybe a droopy eyelid that covers too much of the eye,
Okay.
even something, obstructing the eye itself.
Uh-huh.
And so without that, the light stimulation, the visual pathways, they just don't develop the right way.
So unlike the other types where the brain is kind of choosing the better image,
Hmm.
this is the eye doesn't even get a chance.
Exactly. And because those early years are so important for vision development, you know,
Yeah.
deprivation amblyopia often needs, really prompt and aggressive treatment
Wow.
to give the eye a chance to catch up.
This is all pretty heavy stuff,
Yeah.
but so important to understand. So before we move on to treatment, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, early detection. Are there any telltale signs even if a child's eyes look like they're aligned? So we've covered all the different ways amblyopia can develop.
Right.
But I'm curious about those telltale signs. What should parents actually be looking for,
Yeah.
especially if it's not as obvious as an eye turning in or out?
Right. It's not always obvious.
Yeah.
Some kids, they might squint a lot
It-
or cover one eye, especially in bright sunlight.
Right.
Um, they might have trouble with like depth perception,
Okay.
like misjudging distances or, going downstairs.
That makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like their brain is like struggling
Yeah,
to make sense of these two different images,
exactly.
even if they don't even realize it.
And because, vision problems, they can actually impact coordination
Yeah.
too.
Right.
You might even notice them like being clumsy, bumping into things,
Okay.
or even tilting their head.
To try to use one eye.
Yeah, to favor one eye.
Wow. It's amazing how adaptable kids are, but it also makes like early detection really tricky.
It is.
Sounds like regular eye exams are like super crucial.
Absolutely. A
Yeah.
simple eye exam, that's all it takes
Okay.
to catch amblyopia, even in its early stages.
And when should parents, like how often?
So the American Optometric Association, they recommend, that all children have their eyes checked by like an eye doctor
Mm.
before their first birthday,
Wow.
then again around age 3, and then, regularly throughout school.
Okay, that's super helpful advice. Now, let's say amblyopia is like diagnosed. What's next? What does treatment even involve?
Well, the good news is that amblyopia is treatable,
Okay, good.
especially when it's caught early.
Okay.
And really, the earlier the better, right?
Yeah.
Because we're giving that weaker eye a chance to like catch up.
So it's almost like physical therapy, but for like the eye-brain connection.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Wow.
So the first step is we usually need to address,
Yeah.
that underlying cause.
Yeah.
If it's a refractive error, like we talked about, glasses or contacts,
Yeah.
they can often just correct that, that
Yeah.
vision difference.
Easy.
And if it's strabismus, surgery might be needed to like realign the eyes.
Okay. And what about those cases where it's not an easy fix? Like it's not glasses or surgery. What then?
That's where we really focus on like training the brain to use that weaker eye.
Okay, how do you do that?
So the classic approach is patching.
Yeah, with an eye patch.
Yeah. Covering the stronger eye with a patch for, a certain amount of time each day.
Right.
And that just forces the brain to rely on that weaker eye.
So kind of like the use it or lose it principle?
Exactly.
Interesting.
And these days, there are even like special eye drops
Really?
that can temporarily blur the vision, kind of in that good eye.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a similar effect to patching. And then we also use sometimes vision therapy,
Okay.
which involves like, guided activities
That makes sense.
designed to like improve that eye coordination.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but there are options.
Exactly. Yeah.
What gives me hope is that you've emphasized early intervention,
Right.
like this whole time.
Yeah.
That's got to be like reassuring for parents.
It is. Early detection and treatment, they offer the best chance for a child to develop, normal vision or near normal vision.
Right.
And while, yes, it's treatable at any age, the brain's plasticity, its ability to change, it's greatest in early childhood.
That makes sense. It's like learning a new language or something.
Right. But the takeaway here is this.
Mhm.
If you as a parent notice any signs, any vision problems in your child, don't wait.
Right.
Get an eye exam,
Yeah.
like right away. It
Sure.
can be huge for their vision.
Couldn't agree more. Well, this has been a really, I think, an enlightening deep dive into amblyopia. Learned so much about what it is, how it develops, and most importantly, that it's treatable,
It is.
especially with early intervention.
And I think it's worth saying, again, this isn't about, laziness.
Right.
Amblyopia is common,
Yeah.
and it's totally treatable. Knowledge is power. And now that you understand the signs, you can be an advocate for your child's eye health,
Absolutely. A huge thank you to our expert for, joining us today.
Of course.
And to all of our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you the insights you need to, take charge of your family's eye health. Remember, early detection is key. Until next time, keep those brains curious and those eyes healthy.